What's up, my people? Welcome to another beautiful Saturday. I might be Douglas, and today I'm going to be showing you guys, as promised in my previous video, how I was able to create this first artboard poster. It's a birthday tribute poster, and of my boss on behalf of her husband. And like I said in my previous video, I'll be showing you guys the breakdown on how I was able to do this. But before we get to the full gist, if you are new to this channel, you are super highly welcome. Appreciate you for being here. Do well to catch up with my previous videos. The links are in the description below. It's a poster breakdown series for both Photoshop and Corel Draw. So catch up with the previous videos I've done. And then also don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will be among the first people to be updated on my future videos. All right, so let's get straight to the full gist. So I'm just going to turn off my second artboard here and we are going to focus on this. I'm going to be turning off all my layers. By the way, the elements used on this poster are in the resource folder, so you can also check the description below to access the elements and fonts used for this design, except the pictures. All right, so the first thing I did here was to add my texture background. This is a newspaper background. I've grown fond of this pattern. So in some of my posters, especially maybe celebratory posters, I always tend to add this newspaper poster. Yeah, I like it a lot. So I did some things here on filter gallery, right? If you want to access your filter gallery, just go to filter, come here, okay, and you can play with different effects. Okay, so that was what I did for that. Changed my this thing to hard light. Sure, we've already seen in my previous videos, we've seen this, so it was like, yeah, it was the same thing I did in the second artboard. So filter gallery, I added noise, I went to hard light, chose hard light, and then I now reduce my opacity and fill. So I'm just going to undo back to the previous stuff I did. All right, let me turn on my keys because I'm going to be using some shortcuts. Okay, then the second thing I did here was to add this pattern. So let me open this because there are some things I did here. I know I did color overlay, I did black and white and all that. Let's take this back to its original form if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this is the pattern. Okay, and then normal thing I always do, I'll convert it to black and white. So I converted it to black and white. Let me remove the color. I converted this to black and white and gave it a color overlay, and then this linear light too. Then reduce the opacity to 42%. So I got this. So yeah, this is the pattern, and just going to click no. So that was what I did for this. Reason why I made it red was because of the image. So I wanted to, inculcate that feel already. And then I added my picture. So this picture, I did some little changes with my camera roll. This is the original image, so I just did some little effects to pop out the image a bit. So did that, and then the next thing I did was to add like my gradient. So this is more or less like duplicating this pattern and this stuff that I did here. Okay, but so this is it, right? I added my gradient fill here, right? And then I clip maxed, not power clip, I clip maxed the same newspaper effect, and this other one I clip maxed both of them into that graded background. Okay, just to cover up that bottom section of the image. And then I was also going to add a shadow to the second image, which you're going to see and all that. it was going to play a role. So that's why I added the gradient stuff and to also cover that part as well of the picture. And then I grouped all of them together, and then I um activated my layer mask to just clean off, brush off this area so the picture will be visible. If I disable this, you might not notice it, but I cleaned off some areas here so it could just be neat. Okay. And then next thing I added was shadow. This shadow is from the next image you're going to see. So yeah, from this image. So I also did some things here with camera raw just to brighten it. So the same effect I used on this first image is the same effect I used here, just to maintain the consistency of consistency and uniformity of the image. So that's what I did. And then this crown, I think I downloaded this crown from if I'm not mistaken, I think I just searched it on Google. Crown doodles, you can download it on Google or even Pinterest. So I just searched for it, crown doodle, and then I added it here. And then this text. So this text, my love, my bijo, my choco, I got it from the write-up that I was given. So I was like, okay, normally I would have put some, yeah, I always sometimes in my birthday poster, sometimes, not all the time, I always put a write-up at the top, either something concerning something that relates to the person, who the person is, or maybe I might just put the date of that particular birthday there. But this time I said, okay, let me just put something from the write-up that was given, which you guys are going to see in a bit. So I just put it there. And then this is the write-up. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys could see where I actually got that stuff from. So this was the write-up I was given by my boss's husband. This is where I got it. So my love, happy birthday, my love, my bijo, my choco. So yeah, that's why I just said, oh, that would be nice. So let me just put it up there. And then this font. So let me show you guys the fonts that I use for this. There are two fonts actually. For the write-up, I use Lexen. Like I said, I'm a fan of Lexen, so I use it a lot for my write-ups. And then this font I use here is Australian Signature. So yeah, like I said, not to worry, these fonts are already in the resource folder, so you can access them. Okay, so that was it. So the red, you could see the red was actually picked from the color of the dress. So yeah, that is it. Sorry, let me just zoom out. Okay, so the next thing was the name. So this font here, name of this font is Love You. So I mean, it's a birthday tribute poster to the love of your life. So I said, this will actually be a very good time to use this font, and so I used it. It is very soft. It's it's a warm, it gives a kind of warm, soft feeling, and I said, oh, that's very good. So I'm going to use that font. Perfect. And then I added a drop shadow. Reason why I added a drop shadow was so that this is a white text, and some part of it was already, it's on a white background, and it's going to be invisible to the eyes if you are looking at it just now, right? So that's why I had to add a drop shadow to give it, that visibility. Let the letter E especially not be lost on the white background. So that's why I added the shadow. And then happy birthday, same font I used here was Lexend, and then I added the surname of the celebrant. And then I also now added this script font here just for emphasis on the name of the celebrant here, something I do most times, if not all the time. If I'm doing a birthday poster, I either tend to add, like, maybe repeat the person's name, or maybe I might even, in some cases, like the second artboard that I did in my previous video. Do well to check out that video if you've not watched it. That's the second artboard of this design that I did, birthday design that I did. I think I used the surname instead at the center of this place. So just check it out, catch up with it. And then next thing I now did was to add my rows. I mean, So knowing that, you know, the dress already is a red dress, and then knowing that there are already flowers on the dress, it's like, okay, a suitable element to use around, and since it's also kind of like a birthday love letter, I said, okay, let me use a red rose. It matches the red dress, and then it also matches the flowers on the dress. So that's why I used that. And I used my Gaussian blur effect. If I remove this and bring this out here, this is the rose. So to activate your Gaussian blur, you go to filter, still while selecting your layer, go to filter, go to the blur, and you click on Gaussian blur. There is a shortcut for it, and yeah, that's what I did. And I just gave it a particular percentage that would suit what I needed. And I think I now added another rose. This is another rose. Yeah, this is another rose. If I'm going to remove the Gaussian blur, because I added back Gaussian blur in this one too. This is another rose. Just added Gaussian blur there. So I'm going to undo that, and I duplicated that same rose. That's this one. I just duplicated it and made it smaller. Posted it here. I placed it there, and then this other one too is, this is the one at the top. Just duplicated it and made it smaller. Yeah, and then I now added the day. That's the birth date or the date, 3rd July 2025. You know, this totally different from the same way, totally different from what I did on the second artboard. Okay, and then I converted all my layers to one single image, which is a general shortcut, Shift Control Alternate E. It merges all your layers into one particular image, and then you convert to smart objects. Convert to smart objects, you right click, convert to smart object, and then you go to your camera raw, which was what I did here to make some changes. Shift Control A takes you to your camera raw, and then you can now add some things to just make it pop. So I always go to the effects section. I always add grains. Call it noise or grain, whichever one. Yeah, so you could see the difference. See how it is normal, and once you start adding your grain, like your noise effect, it comes out. Then I added some little clarity to this, added some little texture to this, you know, just to make it pop out a little bit. So I'm just going to cancel this because I already added something, so you can just play around with it, you know. And that was what I did. I'm going to delete this layer and use what I did. So yeah, this is what I did. So you could see the difference from this, and then I just added excuse me, my camera raw, and you know, see how it made it pop. Now there's something, like I said in my previous video last week, that I've learned, right? And shout out to my brother, my boss, very great and fantastic designer, Nana Multimedia. I learned this trick from him. So in his birthday posters and his tutorials, check him out on YouTube, watch his videos, super amazing, you learn a lot. I still learned the same trick. So gradient map, he always adds this gradient map. It's kind of like a color grading effect you add to your design that gives this uniformity on the design. It blends the image with the background color you use, right? Or the highlight colors or accent colors you use. So this is why I added my gradient mapping. If I come here, if you want to add the gradient mapping, by the way, sorry, you come to this place here and you just go to gradient map. Okay, and this is my gradient map. So it comprises of the colors from the image itself, the dress, the celebrant's dress. So yeah, just picked those colors and, you know, applied the screen effects, did some. Now if I just left it normal, this is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to look. Yeah, so I just tried different blend modes to see what worked, and I got screen, and then I reduced the fill, reduced the opacity, so kind of like blending the image and the entire design actually with, you know, that red feel, that kind of thing. It brings this kind of uniformity to the design. So big shout out to Nana for teaching me this amazing trick. So yeah, follow him again on YouTube. All right, so yeah, I did that. So after it, I still um converted all my layers again into one image, still went to my camera raw after I'd done that with the gradient mapping, still went to my camera raw and still added this effect to still make it more crispy and more, all that. So this is actually my logo. I added this logo before I did this final phase. Yeah, I did this logo before I did this final phase. I just like putting the logo up, so I won't, whenever I want to use it, I can just access it easily. So yeah, so that was what I did for this particular birthday tribute poster. So you could see how stunning it is. So let me know what you think about this tutorial in the comment section. If you found it very helpful, do well to like, do well to also share this video to a creative today, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you could be updated on my next video. Like I said, if you are yet to watch the second one, the second artboard, do well to check out that video, see how I was able to come up with this creative concept, and also do well to like and comment and also share that video as well. All right guys, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you next Saturday. Peace.